Hello. Right, I want to make this video. It's about the absolute encoder system. I've had quite a few people message me and email. People ask me on Facebook and things like that about this system and the difference between an absolute and incremental. And that's what the video is about. But I've also got a confession to make, and I want to big thank you. First off, the confession. I wiped out all the parameters on the controller. I was messing around one night looking at all the parameters. I'll zoom in and show you. I'd had too much to drink. I was a little bit pissed. I didn't have my glasses on. I'm going blind as well as senile. And I wiped out the parameters. And it was that parameter there, recovery backup parameters, which is basically sending it back to factory defaults. So what I've been doing is I've been going through all the parameters, and there's literally pages upon pages of parameters, hundreds. And as you can see, there's a description on each line, but on some of them there's more options. So like this one I think is a good one to show. If I enter it, as you can see, it shows you a lot more information, the baud rates and what number to select for which baud rate. So I was going through all these parameters looking, and as you can see, there's an enter and an escape key. So if you make a change, you enter. If you want to get out of it, you just push escape like that. So I'm whizzing through them, and when I got to this one, I pushed enter, and it's slightly different. Because you haven't got a choice, or you don't want to change anything, you've only got a choice whether you want to restore or not. So it asks you that message, and that's when it all went tits up. Because if I go have a look over there, if you look, the escape key and the enter key are right next to each other. So yeah, you know what I did. Like I said, slightly pissed, blind as a bat, I went and pushed enter, not escape, which I'm going to push escape now so I don't do it again. But if I did, I know how to get out of it now, so it's all good. And that's what happened. Set it back to factory defaults. Wiped all the encoder parameters out, all the absolute positioning system. It wiped out all the parameters for that. All the tool change parameters got wiped out. Everything got set back to 0. So it was all lost. Nothing had worked properly. The whole system was pretty much screwed up. But while I was pissed off with myself, embarrassed if I'm honest with you, because I should know better. I've done enough of these type of things to know not to mess around in parameters without being careful. Certainly shouldn't have done it when I'd had too much to drink, but I did. Shit happens. So I wasn't bothered. I thought, no problem, I've got one of these. So they sent me a memory stick with all the backup on it. So I thought, right, turn it off, I'll do that tomorrow. So turned it off, tomorrow came, went to do it, put the memory stick in, went to back up the parameters, and it was password protected. So I got in touch with them. They were very apologetic, gave me the password, and away I went. Tried it again, and then I just got an error. Turns out the memory stick is faulty. Can't really blame them. The engineer, who did it, whoever set it up, did restore, did do the backup. But obviously something's happened in between. The memory stick is faulty. Now whether it happened, the memory stick was in it when I did the restore. Now whether it screwed it up then, because it was working, the memory stick, when I first got it. I've had it in and I've read the files on it, but when I come to back it up, it didn't work. So then it's like, oh shit, what do we do now? So I gets in touch with the engineer, who basically said no problem, but it's no longer a little job, we need some time to do it. So that's what I've done today. I got up at 3:30 this morning, because the 8 hours in front of us, China, so 3:30, which is about 9:30 I believe their time, gets up, starts working with the engineer, and he's basically worked with me all day up to 6 o'clock their time in China, which I think was about 2 or 3 o'clock our time. All day. He had a lunch break, about an hour at lunch, and sometime in the afternoon he disappeared for a bit, but by then we'd pretty much got it all done anyway. But top to bottom we went through this system, set up all the encoders, all the absolute positioning system, set it all up, checked it, run tests on it, got each motor set up, set all the tool changing system back up. And as it happens, the tool changing system was actually wrong that was in it. It was set up for a different type of tool changer to what I've actually got. It was using the arm type instead of a carousel, or what they call umbrella stroke top hat type system. So in one way it was good, because I caught that. It wouldn't have stopped it. It would just meant when I come to do it I would have had to change again parameters and macro files and things, so it's better caught now. So overall it's been a long day, but it's been a good day, worth wiping out the parameters in some ways, because I know the controller very well now. No expert on it by any means, but I certainly know it a hell of a lot better than I did yesterday. And it's took a bit of the, I'm not going to say fear away, but it's took a bit of the confusion away, because I do know it quite well now. A lot of button pressing, menu hopping and stuff, so yeah, good. But my point being is the service from this company is fantastic. And anyone who's thinking of buying one of these controllers from this company, all I can say is if you're serious, don't hesitate, because I know it's a bit scary for people buying from China, Chinese companies. You hear horror stories and things like that, but not with this one. I've been dealing with China and Chinese companies a long time, and you get a feel for them, and I knew straight away from the response and how they dealt with me that there was a good company, and it's proved to be true. So that's why I want to big them up. They deserve it. They've been brilliant. And that's everyone. The sales girl, the engineer, the delivery. There's been a couple of things, niggly things, which shouldn't happen, but it has happened, and I will tell you about it. I'm not going to hide it. There was a cable missing. This cable, which is for the tool changer. Now, I've actually heard of cables going missing before with these controllers, which seems a bit odd, because the service so far from what I've had has been brilliant. There's obviously somebody maybe in packaging who's letting the side down a bit, but I can't imagine for 1 minute they're going to try and rob you of a cable for what it costs them. And they are sending me the cable. It's not like they're trying to dodge giving me the cable. They've offered to send me the cable. And I've actually told them not to bother, because I'll make the cable up. It's not a big deal to me. But as it happens, there might be a way for me to get the cable after all, because someone I know's getting a controller off them very soon, so we might be able to just put it into their package and I'll get it through him. But yeah, don't hesitate to buy one. If you're thinking of getting one, company's first rate. Right, I'll get back onto what I came to do. And this is what I want to show you. I'll get out of this. Right. We're at machine 0. We happen to be at work 0 as well. To show this absolute system, I'm going to turn the controller off now. I need to answer, so I'm going to pause it. I'll be back in a second. It won't a second, look, as it's off. Right. what I'm going to do to show the difference between absolute and incremental systems is I'm going to turn this shaft. The controller's off, so if I turn this shaft 1 revolution, that's the equivalent to 5mm. I've set it up in the control as I've got a 5mm ball screw on it, which I will have on the machine, and it's going to be 1-to-1 direct drive, so it's all set up correct. And I'm going to turn each shaft 1 revolution, or roughly 1 revolution. Right, because we're off now, the control's off. If this was an incremental system, it wouldn't know anything about what I've just done there. And when we turn it back on, which I'm going to do now, you'll see the difference. Ooh, look at that. Scary face. Like looking at a troll. Right, when I push this button, you'll see it'll show 0 for a few seconds, and then boom, it reads the encoder position and shows the position of the motors. And like I said, roughly 5mm, because I twiddled it almost 1 revolution, or just past the revolution. Ignore the A axis, it's not set up, that's not changing at all, but I've just got the X, Y and Z. And that's the difference between an absolute and an incremental system. If that had been an incremental encoder that were on the motor, it'd still be showing 0, because the control wouldn't know anything about those motors being turned, which translates into, if they was connected to the machine and on the machine, it'd be like moving one of the axes, shoving the table one direction or another, or let's say Z axis dropped in the night. When you turn the control on, it wouldn't know that had happened. It'd be oblivious to it. And what you do on an incremental system then is tell the machine to go home to the home switches, so then you can set your machine reference 0. But with an absolute system, you don't need to do that. It knows at all times where it is, so it never gets lost. It always knows where it is. You can still have it look for an home switch, and it'll go off, look for the home switch, and then back off the home switch and look for the encoder pulse or Z position on the index position on the encoder, which is what an incremental system does effectively in some ways, or you can set an incremental system up to do the same. But you don't need to. You don't really need home switches if you don't want them. And that is the main difference. I'll zoom out a bit. So that's the main difference between them. And the way it does it is through this little box of tricks there. We've got some memory in there in the battery, and it's connected to the encoder, and it's talking to the encoder all the time, recording the position it's at. And if I was to disconnect the other end of this that goes into the controller, it will still know where it is. It never loses its position, because the connection between the memory that's in here and the encoder is still in place. Now, if I disconnected this connection from the encoder, that's another story. We've wiped out the position, we've lost it, so we'd have to reset the whole absolute system back up again. But provided that stays connected and the battery has got power in it, it will always know where it is, even if it's disconnected from the controller itself. This battery is supposed to last 2 years, which I don't know. Well, that's how it works. And that's about it for this video. I know it's gone on a bit now because of praising the company, but I think they deserve it, like I said, so I don't mind. I have been asked by some people to explain go through the parameters and what the buttons are and the twiddly bits. which I will do when I get some time. I'm also going to set this up. Someone's asked about this Colin off the forum, so I'm going to set that up for Colin, because you can actually use both of them together, which there's been a bit of confusion to whether you can or you can't, but you can. Well, I'm told. So I'll show that. There's a couple of other good little features, as in you can use this jog not only to move the axis, but you can actually jog through the code with it, and it'll run through the code as you turn the handle. So I'll show that. But at the minute I need to change some parameters to be able to do that, because if you try and run a program at the minute, it's trying to change tools. So I need to after today we've set it all up, but it's looking for the arms and everything that's associated with the tool changer, so, and they're obviously not connected, so I either need to connect some simulations up of that or disconnect it. So I'll get set up for another video. Alright, cheers.